Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban, welcome to my YouTube channel, Roots of Knowledge. So this series is dedicated to helping you guys understand the book Mukhtasar al-Qudoori. Now, if you guys are not familiar with my channel, please check out the videos, hit the subscribe, like button, and share with other people out there. Okay, so this, well, at the moment, we're going through the chapter of Hajj at the moment. So this is like going through the jinayat. Jinayat meaning those things that are necessitate some sort of a offense that you've committed and you've got to give kafara. Right, so he says, وَإِنْ قَبَّلَ. So again, we've done qabbala before. Qabbala means kiss. Let me change the pen. Qabbala means to kiss. Qabbala yuqabbilu taqbil. Right, it means to kiss. Okay, actually, let me just... Right, so... second... Right, so qabbala yuqabbilu is to kiss. Lamasa yalmisu is to touch. We've done this before. So kiss and lamasa to touch. Bishahwatin with lust and desires. Word has come before many times. Dam has come before. Anzala, it means to ejaculate. Anzala lam yunzil. Jama'a, have sexual intercourse. Fi ahad al-sabilain. Ahad al-sabilain has come before one of the two passages, front passage, back passage. Qabla al-wuquf, before wuquf. Wuquf, you know what that is. Arafah fasada, becomes corrupted. Mada yamdi, to just pass or to go through. Wa alayhi al-qada. Faraqa yufariqu is to separate. Separate imratu hajja. قضاء عندنا ومن جامع يجامع مجامعة, again sexual intercourse. بعرف لم يفسد وعليه بدنة. فإن جامع بعد الحلق, حلق is to shave, this word has come before as well. عليه شات ومن جامع في الأمرة. A lot of these words, because they've come before, I'm just kind of skimming through them. أن يطوف أربعة أشواط أفسدها ومضى فيها وقضاها عليه شات. وَإِن وَطِئَ is again sexual intercourse. We've done this before. طَافَ does tawaf. أَرْبَعَةَ is for umrah. His umrah. لَا يَلْزَمُهُ is not necessary. Okay, let's just zoom this up. Okay, and then he says قَضَى وَمَنْ جَامَعَ نَاسِيًا, forgetful. نَاسِيًا, forgetful. عَامِدًا, intentional. Yeah, so intentional. Fil hukmi, in ruling. Hukum means ruling. وَمَنْ طَافَ تَوَافَ الْقُدُومِ. So tawaf al-qudum, done this before. Muhdithan, in this. Alhamdulillah. And yarhamukallah to all of you guys who said Yahdikumullah to all of you guys who said yarhamukallah. Muhdithan, it means in the state of hadath, meaning requires wudu or ghusl. You call this person a muhdith person. فَعَلَيْهِ الصَّدْقَةِ وَإِنْ كَانَ جُنُوبًا. Junuban, it means major ritual impurity. Muhdithan وَإِنْ كَانَ جُنُوبًا فَعَلَيْهِ. It's supposed to be فَعَلَيْهِ. Okay, that's a mistake there. That's supposed to be فَعَلَيْهِ. Yeah, not لَعَيْهِ. فَعَلَيْهِ. وَالْأَفْضَلْ أَنْ يُعِيدَ الطَّوَافِ. يُعِيد is to repeat. Repeat at tawaf ما دام بمكة. ولا ذبح, no ذبح, no slaughtering. صدر محدثا وليس وإن كان جنوبا فعليه شات. Okay, right. So let's go up. Let's do the tarkib of this now. Yeah, let's do the tarkib of this then. Okay, so tarkib of this, how does that tarkib work? So وَإِنْ قَبَّلَ. So قَبَّلَ يُقَبِّلُ is fi'l. لَامَسَ يَلْمِسُ is to touch, is fi'l as well. بِشَهْوَةٍ is the jar majroor. عليه دم مبتدأ مؤخر. أنزل, this is fi'l. أنزل ينزل إنزال. أو لم ينزل. ومن جامع يجامع مجامعة في أحد السبيلين. So this is مضاف. And سبيلين is times 2, by the way. Okay, 2 sabils, 2 paths. قبل وقوف, so وقوف is مضاف إليه. بعرفة, so غير منصرف. فساد فعل. حجه is the فاعل. عليه شاة ويمضي في الحج كما يمضي من لم يفسد حجه. Okay, that's مفعول به. Okay, مفعول به. وعليه القضاء مبتدأ، عليه is خبر. ليس عليه so أن يفارق امرأته فعل فاعل and this is مفعول به. إذا حج يحج is فعل بها. في القضاء جار مجرور. عندنا is ظرف. ومن جامع بعد الوقوف بعرفة لم يفسد. You can say لم يفسد or you can say لم يفسد. So we're going to say لم يفسد. حجه rather مفعول به. وعليه بدنة this is the مبتدأ مؤخر. فإن جامع بعد الحلق فعليه شاة. ومن جامع فعل فاعل في العمرة قبل is مضاف أن يطوف this is the نصب because of أن. 4 أشواط so 4 shots. Let's go down. Okay, so ومضى is فعل فاعل. Okay, فعل فاعل مضى يمضي. وقضاها وعليه شاة again مبتدأ مؤخر. وإن واتئ فعل فاعل بعدما طاف 4 أشواط فعليه شاة. عليه شاة مؤخر. ولا تفسد. Although now see this is I think should have been تفسد ولا يفسد. Anyway تفسد because you want to keep it all consistent. عمرته. ولا يلزمه قضاؤها is the فاعل of يلزم. ومن جامع ناسيا كمن جامع عامدا is the حال في الحكم. ومن طاف so this is حال and also this is also حال. ناسيا is also حال. من طاف طواف القدوم okay محدثا حال فعليه supposed to be صدقة عليه صدقة. وإن كان جنوبا خبر of كان عليه شاة. وإن طاف طواف الزيارة محدثا فعليه then he has to give شاة. وإن كان جنوبا and this is what I said earlier on فعليه not لعيه. I don't know what that means. بدنة. If you guys know what لعيه means let me know. والأفضل new sentence مبتدأ أن يعيد that he repeats الطواف مفعول به ما دام بمكة غير منصرف. ولا ذبح لا نفي الجنس. عليه ومن طاف طواف الصدر محدثا this is حال فعليه صدقة مبتدأ. وإن كان جنوبا فعليه شاة. Okay, so let's have a look at this masala now. See what's happening over here. Let's zoom it up. Do you guys enjoy the large writing? Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy seeing the writing large. Right, so remember we're talking about the things that are problematic to the state of Ihram. So last week we talked about the stitches, we talked about how to stitch clothing for men, we talked about covering up the head for the men and the face for the women, and perfuming, and so forth. Now we're talking about other things that will nullify your, so if we were to write these over here, right, so these are the nullifiers, continuing, right, so this is the next one. I think this was number 5, wasn't it? I can't remember what that was over there, but if it was number 5, so this is continuing. So this is anything which is sexual related. So anything that's sexual related. So for example, like if a man kisses his wife, yeah, or lamasa, or touches his wife sexually. So one is just touch your wife, like you hold her hand, helping her, that's fine. But if it's sexually, then not allowed. Then if he does any of these two things, alayhi dam, he has to give slaughter an animal. Yeah, so he's got to give dam. Why? Because he's broken the sanctity of the ihram. He was supposed to stay away from all of that. And likewise, she's supposed to stay away from it as well. Now this is irrespective of whether he has ejaculated or has not ejaculated, right? And that's why it says over here, it says وَإِن قَبَّلَ, if a man was to kiss, meaning his wife, or لَمَسَ بِشَهْوَةٍ, or touch with sexual desire, فَعَلَيْهِ الدَّمْ, he's got to give dam. أَنزَلَ أَوْ لَمْ يُنزِلْ, whether he's ejaculated or not ejaculated, meaning whether he's had an orgasm or not. Right, let's look at the next one then. وَمَنْ جَامَعَ, now related to sexual things, what about penetration? Right, so penetration into the anus or into the vagina. Right, so these are the two sabils called sabil. If a person does this, then the ruling would differ depending on what situation he is in. Okay, so in other words, so if I was to draw it over here, let me draw this over here then. Okay, so this can either be in Hajj. Okay, this can either be in Hajj or it can be in Umrah. Right, so the rule basically is in Hajj. Remember the dates in Hajj, the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and so forth. So if a person, there's 3 times that he mentions about sexual intercourse. Right, so there are 3, let me just clarify, the 3 times that sexual intercourse is mentioned over here. So one is before that Arafat, right? So let's say, for example, let's zoom this in. So one is before Arafat. So before Arafat, right, a person has sexual intercourse, call this one. One is from Arafat all the way up to shaving of the head. Yeah, so we're going to call this SH, shaving of the head. Yeah, because remember on the 10th, 4 things happen. So stone, and then slaughter, and then shave, and then tawaf. Yeah. So either over here, number 2, or number 3 is on the 10th but before tawaf. Right, tawaf. So let's put like a small one over here. So these are 3 times where the sexual intercourse is not allowed. As for after this, sexual intercourse is allowed here, right? So sexual intercourse there is permitted, like we mentioned previously. So what's going to happen? If a guy goes into Ihram, has sexual intercourse on the 8th before he goes to Arafat, then unfortunately the guy's Hajj is going to be considered to be nullified, right? So the Hajj is considered to be nullified, and he has to give a dam, and we call this a small dam, okay, like a goat. 1 line represents goat. Number 2, if he has sexual intercourse after doing Arafat, but before the 10th shaving of the head, then his Hajj is fine, but he has to give dam because it's a serious crime. 2. And if he has sexual intercourse after the shaving of the head, before tawaf, between shaving of the head and tawaf, because that's that there in it, yeah, then he has his Hajj is fine, but he has to give a small, right, 1. Have you got that? And then obviously after this is totally permissible. Okay, fine. This is if it's in Hajj. So sexual intercourse has 3 or 4, you can say 4 situations. Before the 9th, before Arafat, from the 9th all the way till the shaving of the head after Arafat, and from the shaving of the head to Tawaf, and then after that. As for Umrah, so in Umrah what happens basically is, actually Umrah is going to be easier if I do this. If I just do 1, 2, because remember there's Tawaf, isn't there? So in Umrah it works like this. If you have sexual intercourse there, yeah, Umrah is over. Sorry, Umrah is over. Yeah, and you have to give dam, got to give goat. Yeah, Umrah is over. And if you do it after this, yeah, if you do it after this, then the Umrah is done. Okay, but you still have to give dam because, you know, you kind of messed it up there. Right, so this is basically okay, all right. Let's have a look at this then now. Now, it should all make sense now, hopefully, inshallah. with you guys understanding this. It should all fit in now. Let's have a look. Ya Allah, right. So, وَمَنْ جَامَعَ, whoever has sexual intercourse, في أحد, in one of the two passages. So passages, the vagina and the rectum anus. قبل الوقوف, before وقوف, over here. Yeah, highlighted there. بعرفة. فسد حجه, Hajj has become spoilt. And he's got to give dam. عليه شات, small dam. Yeah, with shat. ويمضي في الحج, and he carries on his Hajj. كما يمضي, just like the one whose Hajj has not been spoilt. وعليه القضاء, and he's got to do qada. Right, the next year or whenever he gets chance, he comes back for Hajj and then he does it again. وليس عليه, and it's not necessary upon him أن يفارق امرأته. So when he comes for his next Hajj, does he have to be far away from his wife because this is, he's kind of like sexual relations with his wife messed up his Hajj? So no, we're not going to tell him to do that. He can stay with his wife if he likes. إذا حج, when he does Hajj بها, with her, في القضاء, in the qada Hajj, in the according to Hanafis. ومن جامع, whoever has sexual intercourse بعد الوقوف, after وقوف بعرفة, لم يفسد حجه, his Hajj will not be, he will not spoil his Hajj. So he's talking about there, this one. Yeah. وعليه بدنة, but he's got to give a big dam, camel. فإن جامع بعد الحلق, however, if he does jima over here, yeah, that one there, فعليه شاة, he's got to give a small dam. Okay, that's all that done. And like we said over here, this is jais. What if in Umrah? So in Umrah, if he does it, let's change the color of this just to kind of make it a bit more nicer. Right, so وَمَنْ جَامَعَ, whoever does jima' fil umrati قبل أن يطوف أربعة أشواط. Right, so this one over here. أفسدها, he spoiled his Umrah. وَمَضَى فِيهَا, but he's got to carry on doing the acts of Umrah. Finish it off. This is the strange thing. Your Hajj is spoiled, your Umrah is spoiled, but you still have to carry on doing it as though you're still doing it. وَقَضَاهَا, and he's got to do qadha of it. وَعَلَيْهِ شَات, and he's got to sacrifice small animal. وَإِنْ وَتِئَ بَعْدَ مَا طَافَ, and if he does sexual intercourse after أربعة أشواط, right, so like over here, all that, then Umrah's fine, but عليه شَاتٌ وَلَا تَفْسُدْ أُمْرَتُهُ. Yeah, his Umrah is not going to be spoilt. Okay, that's that explained. وَلَا يَلْزَمُ, finish this. وَلَا يَلْزَمُهُ قَضَاؤُهَا, and he does not have to do the qada of that Umrah. Right, that is done now. Okay, now remember in fasting, we differentiated between a person who deliberately has sexual intercourse and accidentally, forgetfully rather, has sexual intercourse. Is there any difference between a person who forgets? Yeah, is there a difference between the forgetful one and the one who does it knowingly, deliberately? Yeah, so no difference. All the same. Yeah, so in other words, man jama'a, whoever has sexual intercourse, nasi and forgetful, kaman is like the one who jama'a, has sexual intercourse, amid and deliberate, fil hukmi, in ruling. Yeah, so all of this is considered to be the same. Okay, let's look at some other problems that necessitate dam or some sort of like a penalty. So one is doing tawaf without being in the right state. Okay, so for this one, let me illustrate this according to the days. So let's say, for instance, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So remember, when a person arrives, so this is the arrival tawaf, yeah? Tawaf al-Qudum, right? So we're going to call this the Qudum tawaf, qaf. Yeah, and then you have on the 10th, you have the tawaf ziyara, yeah? Ifada, they also call this. And then you have the last one, which is the return one, yeah? Return. Just put the arrow going that way. Yeah, so this is the wada'. So the qaf, qudum, za, ziyara, waw, wada'. Yeah, or, leaving, sadr. You can call this a sadr as well. Yeah, sadr. Actually, let's call it sadr. Yeah, because that's what's in the book. Sadr. So, either the person has done the tawaf in the state of hadath, meaning they required wudu. Yeah, so we call this muhdith. Or they done it in the state of janaba, junub. Yeah. Janaba, hadath or janaba. Alright, so Let's just zoom this a bit. So if a person was to do the tawaf in the state of hadath, remember, tawaf according to Hanafis is valid even if you don't have your wudu or anything, right? So tawaf will be valid. However, if you did the tawaf al-Qudum in the state of hadath, then you have to give sadaqah. Yeah, so sadaqah. If you did it in the state of janaba, then you have to give a goat. If you did tawaf al-ziyarah in the state of hadath, you've got to give a goat. And if you did it in the state of janaba, you've got to give a badana, camel. If you did tawaf al-wada' in the state of hadath, you have to give sadaqah. And if you did it in the state of janaba, you have to give a goat. Meaning the only one which is considered to be really serious is this one. Otherwise, these two, sadaqah. Alright, so these are 3 tawafs, and those 3 tawafs are like this. I hope that makes sense to all of you guys. Let's have a look at this then. If you guys enjoyed this, then please put in the comments as well. Let me know which part you enjoyed. So, let's just do this color. Okay, so, وَمَنْ طَافَ, whoever does tawaf al-Qudum, remember this one, muhdithan, in the state of hadath, فَعَلَيْهِ صَدَقَةً, he's got to give sadaqah. وَإِنْ كَانَ, and if it was junuban, in the state of janab, فَعَلَيْهِ شَاتٍ, he's got to give a goat. وَإِنْ طَافَ طَوَافَ الزِّيَارَةِ, if he does tawaf al-ziyarah, muhdithan, فَعَلَيْهِ شَاتٍ, he's got to give a shat. And in كَانَ junuban, فَعَلَيْهِ badna, in the state of janaba, badna. وَالْأَفْضَلُ أَنْ يُعِيدَ, but the afdal is to repeat the tawaf مَا دَامَ بِمَكَّةِ. So all of these, you can basically repeat the tawaf and then you don't have to give the penalty. You got a choice. Repeat the tawaf or give the penalty. Up to you. So he's saying as long as you're in Makkah, you can repeat it again. وَلَا ذَبْحَ عَلَيْهِ, and then if he repeats the tawaf again, then that kind of previous penalty gets torn up, cancelled out. And no dhabh, no slaughtering is necessary. وَمَنْ طَوَافَ طَوَافَ الصَّدْرِ مُحْدِثًا, whoever does tawaf al-sadr, muhdith, sadaqah, فَعَلَيْهِ sadaqah. وَإِنْ كَانَ جُنُبًا فَعَلَيْهِ شَاتٍ, and if it's junub, then a goat. That's basically the 6 sort of like scenarios for this, and I hope it makes sense to you guys. Okay, and that's it. I just want to mention one thing. The Hanafis do mention, like, what's the benefit of this? If you remember, we said, if there is like a lady who has to leave and she's in a state of hayd, she can do the tawaf, well, this one, ziyarah, and she can give the penalty, and it will be counted for her. But the tawaf al-sadr is not necessary upon her. Okay, so that's today's lesson, guys. I hope today's lesson made sense. Just to summarize, so we talked about the sexual offenses against the ihram. Kissing, touching will necessitate dam. Penetration to the vagina, if it's in hajj, then there's 3 scenarios for this: before Arafah, after Arafah, and after shaving of the head. And in umrah, before completing 4 circuits and after completing 4 circuits, then there's dam in both sides, but before the umrah gets nullified. And forgetfulness and deliberate is the same. And then we talked about the 3 types of tawafs and their penalties. So that's it, guys. Let's have a look at the questions now. Let's see what kind of questions we've got. Okay, so questions. If a man kisses his wife in ihram but does not have an orgasm, will it necessitate anything? You know the answer? The answer is, it will necessitate dam, slaughtering of a goat. Even if there's no orgasm. If a man has sexual intercourse between Arafah and shaving of the head, what happens? So remember, we said it's 3 times. The first one, it nullifies the hajj and he's got to give a shat. Second one, if he does it there, hajj is fine, but he's got to give a camel, slaughter a camel. And then the third one is obviously the one after the shaving, which is only a goat. When is a person's hajj nullified due to sexual intercourse? It's nullified when he does it on the 8th, before Arafah. How does sex in Umrah impact it? So if it's before completing 4 circuits, then Umrah's over, he's got to repeat it again. And if it's after the 3, if his 4's done at least, then Umrah's fine, but he has to give dam because of what he did. If a man does Tawaf Ziyarah in the state of Hadath, what happens? So remember we said Tawaf Ziyarah is 3 Tawafs. Tawaf Ziyarah in Hadath, he's got to give a goat. If a person does Tawaf Ziyar Sadr in Janab, what happens? He's got to give a goat as well. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Thank you very much for watching. If any of you guys like my videos and really want to help my channel grow, then please consider becoming a sponsor of the channel, becoming someone who supports on a monthly basis, or you can support it on a one-off basis as well. Details in the comments below. Thank you very much for again watching this, and I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.